Hello everyone, Neil Mack here, Director of Ministry Engagement at Calvary Tabernacle. In 2016, I became certified as a speaker trainer coach for the John Maxwell team. I really entered the program because of my interest in public speaking. I never would have guessed that the coaching piece of this training would have become such a vital part of my life going forward. Coaching is something more than just telling people what to do. It's more than just interviewing someone and giving them tips to succeed in life. It's really getting to the heart of the matter of the client, of the athlete, or of the mentee. And it's really the heart of what we want to try to convey in this mentorship training. Calvary Tabernacle has offered mentorship for those that were interested for a number of years now. And so when presented with the opportunity to be a mentor, of course I was very interested. The thing about mentorship is it's the ability to impact someone's life in a way that neither you nor your mentee could have ever even imagined. And so that's where I'm coming from with this mentor training. I want to talk about three specific pieces of what it is to be a mentor, trainer, and a coach. These three things are not necessarily synonymous. As a mentor, as a coach, you might do all three of them, maybe even within one session or throughout a string of sessions. But I wanted to define each one individually to help shape and frame the way that we think about each one and maybe be a little more intentional with our interactions with our mentees. Those three things are teach/train. The second one is mentorship, and then the third is coaching. They're kind of self-explanatory, but I wanted to give you some detail as to what I mean by these three terms. When you're teaching and training someone, it's literally just telling them what to do. You might describe to them, okay, turn the light switch on. And when you do, you put your finger at the bottom of the switch and you pull up. That's teaching and telling. It's very tactical. It's the same action that you would tell 100 mentees. It's the practical, it's the tactical. You're just telling them 2 + 2 = 4. That's teaching and training. When we're mentoring and coaching, there are plenty of times when you're specifically and explicitly telling people what to do. There's nothing wrong with that at all, but that in and of itself is not mentoring or coaching. So just know that if you have the opportunity to give guidance or direction, if you're teaching a skill or if you're telling someone exactly what to do, that's just one small piece. The next part is mentorship. There's not much mentorship that takes place when you're describing to someone how to turn the lights on. Finger on bottom, pull switch up. That's teaching and training. Mentorship is different. This is what mentorship looks like. Okay, you've described your situation, you've described your challenge, you've described your obstacle. When I was in a similar situation, this was my context, this was my obstacle, this was my problem. These are the action steps that I took. This was the result. Your context is totally different. You may or may not find value in simulating or benchmarking the steps that I took, but maybe you can draw some conclusions about your context and create your own action items and see your own results. So rather than just telling them, hey, if I were you, I would do X, Y, and Z, you describe a similar situation, you describe the context, the actions, and the results, and then they have to decide if those actions or similar actions would be the right play or the right move in their particular life. That's mentorship. It's coming alongside and assisting as opposed to simply telling. And then the third part is coaching. This is the part that I enjoy the most. Most experts aren't great coaches. And you don't have to be an expert in any particular field to be an effective coach. In fact, there's a world-famous coach named Sir John Whitmore, and in his book, which is a wonderful resource if you're interested, called Coaching for Performance, he actually describes a situation where one particular coach had a team of tennis players. And the tennis team had reached a certain pinnacle, and the coaches that were involved with that particular tennis team had reached their capacity to coach. And there was a situation where John Whitmore brought in ski coaches and put them in tennis gear and put tennis rackets under their arms. And what they discovered was there was no noticeable difference in the quality of coaching that the ski coach gave to the tennis players. And in fact, in many cases, the teams with the ski coaches actually outperformed the teams with the tennis coaches. That's all to say that sometimes if you're an expert in something, you know just about as much as anyone, if not more than anyone else in that particular field. And it's so easy to revert into the teaching and telling, and then your student or your athlete or your mentee or your client doesn't get the benefit of the self-discovery. When these ski coaches were coaching the tennis team, they learned to ask questions of the tennis players that actually were more illuminating to their performance than the expert tennis coaches that had all the bias and all the built-in assumptions. So instead of a tennis coach asking the tennis player, "Were you watching the ball?" the ski coach would ask something like, "Which way was the ball rotating as it approached you?" So coaching is really about asking the right questions, asking open-ended questions, asking revealing questions of your mentee, your athlete, or your client. These questions lead to self-discovery. And one of the models that we want to use with our mentor training, again, there will be times you will teach and train. There will be times when you will mentor. You describe your situation, compare it to your mentee's situation, and then ask them to decide what their next move is. But the most impactful part of this mentorship is the coaching aspect. And so what I'd like for us to use is a simple methodology called To Grow. It's TGROW. And if we use this format each time we have a session, it just keeps us on the rails. It helps us to be intentional with our mentee or our athlete or our client. The T in To Grow stands for topic. It's very simple. Mr. Jones, what topic would you like to talk about today? What domain of your life? What aspiration do you have that we can put on the table together and discuss during this session? You've got to know the direction that you're heading, and you've got to know what you're talking about. It seems self-explanatory and it seems obvious, but without that specific question, it's difficult to embark on this journey of drilling down to exactly what the client or the mentee or the athlete wants to do, so that you can both take the future self and bring it into the present so that you can do something about it now. What's the topic? What are we dealing with today? The next letter in the To Grow acronym is goal. All right, we've got our topic down. What would you like to accomplish in this specific session? Now, initially, the client, the mentee, the athlete, they might not even know what they don't know. But you can't just brush over the goal-setting piece of a mentorship session and a coaching session. I think awkward silence is a telltale sign that good coaching is taking place. Because while as a coach and a mentor, it can feel a little uneasy when there's an awkward silence, typically that means you've set the plow pretty deep and the client, the mentee, the athlete is thinking really hard. You probably won't see smoke coming out of their ears, but they're really twisting inside when you refuse to go forward without setting a specific goal. It can be excruciating at first. It can kind of be exhausting. But every single time that I've had one of these sessions, when the session is over and we've gone through this to grow process, the client is relieved, the client is invigorated, and they're excited about moving forward on the things that they didn't even know that were inside of them. Because when you're coaching, you're pulling from their subconscious the things that they kind of want, the goals that they kind of want to face, but they really haven't had the courage to face those goals just yet. There's an interesting study that was done that describes how scientists put 4 monkeys in a room. And there's this chrome steel pole in the middle of the room, and at the top of the pole, there's a bunch of bananas. And the alpha monkey, of course, breaks out from the group and climbs the pole. And just as the monkey is at the top, reaching for the bunch of bananas, hidden among the bananas were these water jets that sent out high pressure, very cold water and blasted the monkey in the face. Of course, the monkey goes down the pole and he's in the corner and he's shaking and he's frustrated and he's cold and he's frightened. Second monkey tries to run up and the same exact thing happens. So apparently the third monkey actually grabs, the third monkey is on his way up and the fourth monkey grabs the third monkey and prevents the monkey from climbing to the top because he's watched all of the other monkeys get blasted in the face with this cold water. Then the scientists cycle in fresh monkeys until the room is full of monkeys that have never reached the top. But every time a new monkey comes in and thinks, I'm going to climb that pole, I'm going to reach for the banana, the other monkeys grab that monkey and prevent them from even making it halfway up the pole. They don't even know why. They haven't seen any monkeys get blasted in the face, but they just know what we do is we stop each other from climbing up that pole. So when you're doing the G, the goal, and the to grow method, sometimes people will hesitate to voice their goals because they've been discouraged in the past by others, or maybe because they've just failed too many times. So if you can coach the person to actually articulating what it is they're trying to accomplish, you're already winning. A study at Harvard tells us that 97% of the population of the world don't have any written goals. The 3% that do have written goals accomplish 10 times more than the 97% that don't. So it's very, very important. Discover your topic and ask the client or the athlete or the mentee to establish a goal for the session. And then the R in the to grow acronym is representing realities. Everyone has a context, everyone has a story, everyone has a reality. They've got a certain amount of bandwidth and energy and time available, and then they have oppositional forces, the realities of their life. I'm limited to my 40 or 60 or 80 hour a week job. I'm limited in my education level. I'm limited in the other commitments that I've already made. So you know their topic and you know their goal, but what are they facing in terms of the regular commitments and the regular rhythm of life that they're going to be working against? So you need to articulate, or ask rather, the client, mentee, or athlete to articulate the realities of their life so you can begin to understand everyone can have a wonderful goal, but what are the oppositional forces that they're going to be fighting against? O, the TGRO, stands for obstacles. We're going to articulate the specific thing that would stand in the way of their next actions in accomplishing their goal. Okay, you have a 40-hour work week. That sounds like an articulation of an obstacle. It's really just the reality of your life. But what is the obstacle that's connected to your 40-hour work week? Are you not able to work a little bit before you start work for your full-time job? That might be an obstacle. Are you able to work after your 9 to 5 job? That might be an obstacle. You want to articulate the very specific things that they're going to have to choose as opposed to the thing that they would do in their next action to accomplish their goal. So far, we have the topic, we have the goal, we have the realities that they face, and we have the specific obstacles that they're facing in their life. And then the last piece is the W. W stands for way forward. It's literally the next steps. The way forward is not necessarily the horizon or the direction that they're going in. It's what next action will you take in order to move forward on your goal. If your goal is to lose an X number of pounds by X number of date, you don't go from where you are to today to looking down at the scale and realizing your goal. Their very next action might just be going home and throwing out all of the Debbie snacks. That's their very next action. And that's, of course, just an example. If it has something to do with career advancement or educational advancement or spiritual aspirations, there needs to be a very next step that they will accomplish that they can clearly define and get to work on right away. If you need to put together 2 or 3 next steps, because maybe 1 or 2 of those steps seem to be smaller and can be accomplished in a short period of time before your next coaching session, feel free to put as many down as you need to. But the idea is to get over the inertia, get moving, get the way forward designed, and what are we going to do next to accomplish our mission? Let's summarize and review. There are 3 parts: teaching and training, got to have it sometimes. There's mentorship, describing your situation, comparing it to your client, making them make a choice on what their next steps are. And then lastly is the coaching piece, where you relentlessly ask questions and force what's in the subconscious of your client or athlete or mentee into the open so that you can do something about it. And as you begin to exercise these 3 steps, we want to use the To Grow method. Find out the topic, set the goal for the session, consider their realities, clearly define their obstacles, articulate and write down on paper their next steps or their way forward. And this process gets repeated over and over and over again. The next thing you know, 4, 5, 6 sessions down the road, the amount of accomplishment that I've seen when mentees, clients, and athletes use this method is so surprising to them. They begin to crave these sessions. They begin to crave this process. So this is the method that I'd love for us to use when we're mentoring those that are in career engagement and also those that are in spiritual engagement. God bless. Hope this helps.